Greetings and welcome back to Cardano Coin, where you can find the most latest and fascinating ADA news. You can enter to win 1000 ADA by watching the entire video, upvoting, subscribing, and leaving a comment that says Cardano is King. The winners will be chosen the following month and announced on the channel's community page. If you haven't already, click the link in the description below to join us in Discord. Fantastic community where crypto is discussed constantly. It is totally free. Okay, men, let's get going. And now let's go into what's happening with Cardano. Before we jump right into the price forecast for ADA, let's first take a look at some recent events that have been happening in and around Cardano. And while it is obvious that we must delay the hard fork in the upgrade, I actually view this as a benefit rather than a drawback because it gives us much more time to fix any bugs and much more time for exchanges and other third parties to complete the upgrade and ensure that they are prepared for it when it actually does go live. It's actually not a bad idea to hold back a little bit and wait for things to move along a little bit smoother, and hopefully, things will correlate with a better market on the downward market that we're now in. So, in my opinion, any time after September would be preferable. So, there's no rush right now, and the more time there is to sort of smooth out any issues, the better in my perspective. Since the price will have a little bit more FOMO attached to it, we may obviously see this upgrade during better and more wealthy times, in my opinion. Having said that, we do want to talk about this. ADA claims that Cardano has the potential to surpass all previous cryptocurrency milestones. And I genuinely think this. It's crucial to realize that, yes, Cardano is a type of blockchain just like any other sort. To put it more simply, it uses third-generation blockchain technology and attempts to address some of the same problems as many others. The primary distinctions, however, stem from the process of creation and what those implications might be in the future. And as we continue to scroll down, the man, in a way, fashions a killer whale out of the situation. Yes, we can claim that Cardano is a blockchain that is different from many others in that it is more safe, decentralized, etc. This isn't always understood by the typical user. However, Cardano will be unlike anything seen in cryptocurrency before if decentralized governance under Voltaire succeeds, and it will be larger. I do concur with this. In essence, he is correct, just looking at it from the top down. If you are unfamiliar with blockchain technology, you might mistakenly believe that Cardano is identical to other cryptocurrencies like Ethereum or Algorand. Right? Polka dots are layer 0, not layer 1, without really scratching the surface. You know that different things occur in various ecosystems? And yes, what he's essentially referring to here is the Voltaire era on Cardano, which, if you look at the roadmap, again, it provides the final pieces necessary for the Cardano network to become a self-sustaining system. The Voltaire upgrade hard fork, or the Euro, depending on how you want to look at it, will essentially be marked by the introduction of voting and a treasury system on the ecosystem on the network, right? And here is essentially where players can stake their ADA and use their right to vote in order to affect how Cardano is developed in the future. So, it's not a brand new idea, something that hasn't happened before, or anything of the sort. We're all aware with the general ideas of getting in and out of the space in an acceptable manner. However, when we discuss everything else, that type of Cardano has been accumulating, and I think it has been taking its time to be extremely methodical about how employee after these things. We are essentially in a position where Cardano might be one of the major participants in the market over the long run. On this channel, we frequently discuss whether an ecosystem will be long-term viable or not. And when it comes to Cardano, we really feel that it can endure for a very, very long time as long as it keeps innovating. And clearly, when we have a voting mechanism where we can sort of decide how Cardano as a community develops in the future, that's usually when issues start to appear. And we can observe this in areas like theory, where the community's votes don't always, sort of travel in a unanimistic direction. There will therefore be issues. Of course, there will also be difficulties and obstacles to conquer. However, it is unquestionably a significant step forward. Therefore, when we begin to discuss the upcoming upgrade scalability and throughput requirements, as well as what it means for the Cardano ecosystem in terms of smart contracts, Plutus, and other similar issues, we're talking about a little bit later down the road when we have this voting, this decentralized method of voting, and staking your ADA to essentially control the future advances of vehicle Dana is a major issue. And I do believe that everything that has been developed for Cardano is guiding us steadily toward a future that is highly sustainable. So let's continue. Let's look at this one first. Right. This is really a fluff piece, but it does lead us to the next, more intriguing data points, you understand. So in essence, Charles Hoskinson has provided us with an explanation of the value of ADA. And while this is really only a tweet, I do find that Charles Hoskinson prefers to highlight the negative rather than the truly positive. But now that you know, I examined the $5,000.08 worth of ADA I purchased in July 2021 today. It is worth $2,000. Yes, $5,000 might be spent if you buy in July. However, Charles Hoskinson appears to have changed his mind on this because he now says July 2021 rather than January 2021. On the other hand, Jack, ADA would be worth $6,750 if you had purchased it in January 2021. So it's appropriate to discuss price. And it's all about where you invest in the market. In the end, I don't think it really matters as long as you have a long-term strategy in place. I mean, potentially, you would have wanted to exit Adrian and enter and exit ADA quite a few times on some of the greatest swings. Chris has been doing this recently, and he has actually increased his ADA portfolio by 30%. And one of the best accumulation tactics behind that is just actively trading it during some of the swings that were occurring, especially on the way down. Nevertheless, you know, that's intriguing because it basically just says that if you had purchased it in July rather than 7 months earlier, you would currently be in a better financial position. Such interesting material. However, as the market fluctuates, ADA won't behave any differently than any other asset during these adverse market fluctuations. So, yes, it's something you should expect to happen naturally. Despite this, there is still some additional intriguing information in this piece that I'm going to discuss because it comes from Twitter and the Cardano community. In essence, we can see that there are two different types of transactions here. We have native tokens and, essentially, on-chain statistics for July, which I believe to be extremely interesting. In other words, there is a decrease in native tokens and an increase in native tokens to 6.34%. So the Cardano ecosystem now has 5.7 million different native tokens, which is an increase of 6.34%. And part of that is obviously complete nonsense. You must admit that some of it is very wonderful. The fact that there are many native tokens is awesome. As we carry on, it is clear that there are 47 million transactions, which represents a 4.9% increase, 3.5 million Cardano wallets, representing a 2.27% increase, and 1.17 million delegated wallets. According to how I interpret that, there are roughly 2.5 million people who haven't given their radar over to the cunning Cardano APR. If you're not delegated and are still eating at your auto eateries, ADA, you should definitely get on that because you're missing out on some very excellent juicy passive returns. This is under the ticker Cheek, so check it out. It's a terrific method to get money. Unfortunately for you, if you look for the ticket Cheek and delegate into the pool in many wallets, you will find that there is a Cardano pour underneath the ticker Cheek. When you delegate into Cardano, however, it isn't locked up because I'm going to assume that 2 million people or 2 million wallets don't understand this. Therefore, it differs from other protocols like Finance or similar ones where you lock up your Cardano ADA for, say, 30 or 60 days. If you do it through your own wallet, you always have access to those tokens, so you aren't really moving them anywhere. Instead, you are essentially delegating them to a pool and generating passive income. However, if you so desired, you could go ahead and immediately withdraw those funds from the pool. There is no lag, and your ad is still yours to move as you like. However, be careful not to do it through a centralized exchange, since you might have to lock it up for Nance, for example, as they have lockup periods of 30 days, occasionally 60 days. And in essence, this maintains that assistance on their site, allowing you to earn passively and perhaps earning you a very respectable return. However, you are unable to access those tokens during that lockup time, which is a good idea in a bear market. However, it goes without saying that you must have faith in the exchange you are using during these unpredictable periods of volatility if you are utilizing something like a controlled exchange. We've seen this time and time again. Just look at Celsius. If you were staking there and generating your passive income for ourselves to stay, obviously, those were at high risk. Also, many of them may suffer fairly significantly. And, obviously, are currently going through the bankruptcy process. My point is that you may delegate and make a very generous return while maintaining complete control over your reader if you use a tool like a Euro Wallet, Daedalus Wallet, or Atomic Wallet. Okay, so 2 million individuals worldwide are assigned to the slightly poor. Trust me, you won't regret it. So let's continue. Yes, we have the Plutus scripts. 2.91 thousand. Right. So, assuming I can get these words out, 292,993, or 4.76%. The number of insurance is up by 58,993, or 3.5% on the script side. For Cardano, everything is therefore going well. That is all there is to smart contracts. Smart contracts without metadata are just basic transactions with metadata. Therefore, you may look at the transactions right here. 39.3% of easy transactions at 43 points. Smart contracts without metadata and those with metadata make up 23.6% of all smart contracts. Smart contracts with metadata score 15.4 and 11.7. Therefore, there was metadata but no smart contracts. I have excellent metrics, therefore. As a result, I believe that in general, during a bad market, when you'll see a lot of positive on-chain numbers like this for Cardano, that gives us a really strong, positive vibe for what the future looks like in the next run for Cardano. Of course, this gets me to the technical analysis. In order to enter this into the charts, let's bring it up here. What will I remove from this location? Okay, so we are only looking at the Cardano hourly chart here. We're utilizing Binance as our data source combined with USDT. Now, this isn't really the topic I want to cover in depth. Because, we frequently discuss the micro movements, particularly during our live altcoin AMAs in Discord. And it goes without saying that we engage in conflicting technical analyses. However, the major reason I want to kind of look at this is because, according to my assumptions, we've got a little movement between 54 and 61 on the shorter timescales. But in essence, it's a minor percentage, after which we're naturally sliding down toward our 28 to 34 cent area and perhaps this 22.23 order that is still in effect. And this has been a fairly drawn-out, gradual march to the side. Essentially, we might say that this pattern is a continuation of what comes next because it has a triangular wedge shape. Okay, so the market is very choppy and corrective. We do have a potential 5-wave move that could take us down to this point, a 3-wave structure in the back, and we are looking for another 5-wave drop that could possibly complete a zigzag pattern that would lead us, in my opinion, toward 28 to 34 cents. However, that's not exactly what I want to discuss. Instead, I want to discuss the long-term price forecasts. We're going to move up into the daily chart for that. Okay. Now, the structure on the daily chart is extremely clear, right? From the lows in March 2020 to the highs in this area in August 2021, we had our 5-wave move. So he had purchased July 2021. We'll rely on somewhere down here. And over here, it's worth less. Yes, it is clear how the market has changed. But in essence, we have this 5-wave structure in this situation. For Chris and I, depending on when you entered the cryptocurrency market, we were fortunate enough to arrive in the 2020 timeframe. And just because of everything that was occurring at the time, we had plenty of time to conduct actual research, enter the markets at the appropriate time, and do other similar things. Yes, if you were clearly less fortunate and you were making this purchase at the top. Okay, since I continue to believe that we are moving upward. Okay, so starting today, the price is I'm still talking as I'm recording this video. Oh, excellent 7,000%, perhaps, to that upward advance today for comprehending what is illustrated here. We only need to go over a few fundamentals. Okay. Therefore, we'll only sketch down a 5-wave structure. Okay, so I've obviously mentioned this a few times, and I've discussed the 5-wave moves a lot in the videos. The 5th wave is now moving like this, 12,345. These are seen as trends. Okay, good. And as a trend develops, you often anticipate a 5-wave move within of each of the 3 motive waves, 1, 3, and 5. Okay, so there aren't 5 waves in the end. As a result, 5 waves appear to be a trend, or at least appear to be one, right now. Therefore, if you have that, it is a 53,535 wave count, meaning that you have 5 waves here, 5 waves here, and 5 waves here, whereas he has 3 waves, 3 ways, and a net. Because these become nested when you scale up through other timelines, such as our 1-hour chart, 8-hour charts, etc., it is crucial to comprehend this, you realize. Therefore, as we get into our daily, the weekly might even be preferable. The 5-wave structure for Cardano is actually wrapped possibly inside this ABC structure, despite the fact that we have this 5-wave structure. Okay, so when we started scaling it, we recognized that it had to be something else because we can't just have 5 waves on its own. And prior to that, there was no trading. Furthermore, this modification up top is actually pretty doable. It's also not all that horrible. It leads me to believe that the zigzag pattern we are supposed to observe will truly be what our estimates up here predict. A zigzag pattern is essentially made up of a 5-wave structure at the top, a 3-wave structure at the bottom, and another 5-wave structure at the top. Okay. Isn't it comparable to what I just said, you might be thinking? 53535, and yes, there is basically this 535 structure here, which is basically those subsections just that. Let me just bring this back in. However, we lack the final 2 and 5. Additionally, this region here would have to be 1.618 times larger than this area here. Okay, so the length of our complete second 5-wave motion would have to be 1.618 times longer than this one. Now let me just eliminate all of those when I look at Cardano. And because we no longer need these, let me just remove them. So that's the illustration. I'm hoping that makes sense. So when I climb into this automobile, Donna, keep in mind that this structure is zigzag and that A and C are typically not equal in length, yet this wave would typically be the same length as AC wave. Okay, and if we really wanted to be crazy and say that we want that 1.618 times this entire movement from our low point over here, people, we would have to be looking at the price of vehicle dinos reaching all the way up here at $947. In light of this, I believe it is highly improbable that we will raise the price to the point where we can practically see a $1,000 increase. ADA, it's extremely improbable that you would go that high given the massive supply, plus the selling pressure that would build up the moment you started pushing up even remotely close to $100 would be very, very extreme. It's extremely improbable that you will ever be pushed that far. It has nothing to do with market capitalization at this point. Everything is based on supply and demand. The higher the price goes, the more I believe that the supply would outrun the demand, so you'll never reach those kinds of levels until there is a big supply constraint. Which takes me to what I think is our most likely scenario. So $38 is our 1-to-1 ratio. Therefore, we might contend that $38 may be the price goal we have for Cardano at the peak of the subsequent bull run. And it's honestly not that unlikely. There is a significant proportion that is delegated, more than 70%, I believe, and more can be assigned as well. Of course, being delegated doesn't always imply that it's locked up and can't be sold, so it's feasible, given the possibility that demand may outrun supply. Really, it depends on where that is kept behind bars. And do you lose control when you use centralized exchanges rather than, say, wallets that provide you control? There will be variations there. However, there is currently a supply problem. I am aware that Nance was having ADA issues and that lengthy detention times were being considered. In order to encourage users to lock it up and prevent problems with the decrease of the supply on their platform, we are also offering incentives to those with greater APIs and APs. I am aware that the SPY is starting to take some really heavy blows. Nevertheless, I believe that $88 is the higher range in this case. I wouldn't anticipate it to rise any higher. And considering supply and demand, it is undoubtedly feasible. However, I believe that realistically speaking, we'll be looking at the 618 to this 786. So that puts us somewhere between $5.39 and $12.86. There are a few exceptions, or perhaps exceptions is the wrong word, here. And within this range, there are a few assumptions that we're making. First off, although I made the assumption that we would drop to 22 cents, it is feasible that we wouldn't. In that case, our targets would increase rather than decrease. Okay, so they are entirely tied to one another, meaning that, wherever this correction ends, the following 5 waves should be almost 1-to-1 with our first wave. Therefore, $38 is the upper end, yet, because it is predicated on 22 cents, if we don't reduce to 22 cents and instead raise it to, say, 37, then the aim essentially gets greater. In essence, what we're discussing here is that the next bull run high may really be rejected at either the 618 or the 786 level. Therefore, an upper limit of $12.86 that is more fair is possible. Therefore, we have our own set of targets that we kind of aspire to hit. Obviously, we'll learn more once we start to actually see the wave structures here. As we begin to ascend. Once that is taken into consideration, we can start to say things like, okay, yeah, we have a decent way to account that is saying $38, or we have a good wave count that is indicating $12. Alternatively, it could simply be a wave count, which would indicate $5. In either case, if we start there and work our way upward in a disciplined manner, we'll know more. However, as of right now, I'd say that the card dynamic is actually moving in a pretty positive path. While it's nice, it's making good gains, it's clear that it won't be the greatest in the industry. If we move higher, we're talking about a 16,000% increase. It is approximately a twofold increase from 22 cents to 38, or from 22 cents to, say, $5. And if we increase it to around $12, it will increase by about 5.5 times, or 1,000%. The gains are thus present, but they are not substantial. But I do believe that investing in a project like Cardano is probably safer than, say, investing in another type of microcap currency. So it is apparent that excellent risk management and similar practices must be used, but I don't think it will be the next one's strongest performer. But based on an adoption curve and everything else, I do believe it will rank among the top performances. And of course, if we notice a major increase in dApps, those that launch in the ecosystem would need a lot of ADA. Therefore, there is a rise in demand that may exceed the rise in supply. I could be completely off track here, and we may be moving up much higher than perhaps first imagined. But until we can really count the wave patterns and assess how well we're doing at various levels, it's just doubtful that we'll be able to observe it. But people, they are kind of my longer-term opinions on Cardano. Please click the like button if you found this video to be educational and helpful. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, then why not go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so you will be kept up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. With all that said down out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.